up. And I had this conversation with my mum on WhatsApp this morning. She mentioned that we were talking about Havoc on our family WhatsApp group, and I'll actually talk about Havoc after this. But just to say, speaking of Tom Hardy, have you been keeping up with Mobland, Mum? Because it's getting really good. My sister said, "Oh yeah, I'll give it a go," and I was like, "Yeah, blah, 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 shut up." And then Mum said, "Yeah, Lord Thomas of McHard is mint, which is a northern colloquialism for very good. If anyone doesn't know that." I said, "Yeah, he's getting better." It really felt like he was getting better in this episode. It felt like they must have filmed this chronologically, obviously, episode by episode, and it felt like he clicked. I know they filmed it chronologically actually, because when I did the premiere job, they said the scripts weren't even ready episode by episode. It felt like he's clicking now. It feels like he's at peace with like the vibe of character that he is, because looking forward to Havoc that we're talking about next, and Venom and the Cray twins and the character in Warrior. He normally plays like much more wired characters. He's normally this kind of like eyebrows and like eyes and fucking and fucking Peaky Blinders. Like he's normally the wired like fucking nuts character with an edge. And in Mobland, he kind of has to have an edge, but he has to be a family man, and he has to be not secondary to Pierce Brosnan's patriarch of the Harrigan family, but certainly not primary. Like, he's not the guy. He's not the guy. And I felt like he was struggling to hit a vibe of like, how do I be the guy without being the guy? Because he kind of still has to be the guy. Do you know what I mean? Just like the person who's like kicking ass and taking names. But I feel like he's finally settled into it. And so I said, yeah, he's getting better. I wasn't keen on his performance at first, but I think it's clicked and the story has clicked. I said my least favourite performance is Helen Mirren's. What do you think? Mum said, I worry that I don't want to comment more on women's performances more than men's just by default, but her accent isn't working for me. And I said, I thought about this, because I did. I thought, am I just... Oh, I don't want to criticise Helen Mirren just because she's like a woman in this traditionally masculine show. Anyway, it turns out I'm not. That's it. Turns out I'm not, and turns out my mum isn't either. Because I was first criticising Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy was my first criticism. I also think Paddy Considine is miscast. So we went into this. I said, no, I'm not criticising Helen Mirren. First was been Tom Hardy. Paddy Considine's miscast. I think the kid Eddie sucks buttholes, I said. But Helen Mirren, I think I expect more of because of her pedigree. But I also think is due criticism due to her accent and depiction of this character. Mum said, yeah. I said, in fact, it's an odd show. Because I was like, I'm criticising a lot about this show, specifically the performances. And I was like, in fact, it's an odd show. Because I think it's less than the sum of its parts, while simultaneously being really good and entertaining. Do you know what I mean? And my sister piped back in and said, yeah, it sounds rubbish, actually. I might not check it out. And I said, no, do. And my mum said, oh my God, yes. Why do we even like it? And I was like, I don't know, actually. Because a Guy Ritchie project with Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, Tom Hardy, Paddy Considine, you'd be like, that's gonna be the best fucking show ever made. And it's not. It's actually entertaining in a way that you'd expect from a show that didn't have all those people in it. You'd be like, oh, I've just caught this thing, Mobland, and like, it's a bit shite, but it's really floating my boat on a Sunday when I'm just feeling a bit tired. And like, it's kind of like schlocky B-movie TV. And yet it's got all these brilliant people in it and Guy Ritchie's name's on the billboard. It's a really funny, weird show. Definitely less than the sum of its parts, but also fucking brilliant at the same time. I really enjoyed that observation. Which then brings me on to Havoc.